Cool. So you're going to have your terminal open, node mod on one side, yarn start or whatever on the other side. Looks like my thing crashed. Why are we crashing, actually? Error, cannot find modules, so that is likely that I'm missing my npm modules. So I'm just going to do an npm install so I have them, and I'm going to do a yarn install so I have them. Because I have a funny feeling I'm missing my modules. Yep. That's exactly what the issue is. Missing modules. I must have deleted them. Oh, I did, because I packaged it all up at one point. Oh, am I in the right folder then? Yeah, I'm in the right folder. I must have just packaged it up at some point. Cool. Okay, so today we're going to do two things. We are going to we are going to create React notifications, so actually build a notification system in the React side so that you can actually get like nice, cool little messages up and actually see them. And in order to do that, we're going to have to use a new React module called useContext, which is already built in. It's part of the hook system, right? And then also we're going to deploy. And deploy is surprisingly simple. It's literally 10 lines of code that we have to change, and that's it, and then we'll be able to deploy. So just a disclaimer, if you go into your thing, this is Blog Thursday, cool. If you go into your thing and you take a look at your app.js file, down here, I've already changed it, which I shouldn't have done, because that's going to make it super confusing for you. The code that was down here before is going to get changed with the code that's here now. So we'll go over that together. Please tell me this is not all reflective of this. Hold on, let me just make double sure that I haven't done silly things. Nope, no silliness. Awesome. Okay. So we'll do the notification, and then we'll do that part there, and I'll help you get it up. The one big thing that you need to note is that anytime you deploy to Heroku, you have to build yarn. We can tell Heroku to do that as a step. Basically, it's a pre-step. And what it will do is build yarn for you and then deploy it. The reason why we're doing that is because the yarn, like the React side that we've done, is just going to be JavaScript when we're finished. That's it. And it just needs to be delivered by something. So it's going to get delivered by our node system because it's already there. So we just need to basically tell Heroku to make sure it builds that, and so that it's built and sitting there. And we can kind of do that through the package.json file. We can actually add a pre-step for Heroku. Yeah, we'll take a look at that. I just have to look up the line for it. I can't remember it off the top of my head. Otherwise, we'll pre-build and just make sure it works. So, all right, cool. Let's do some React notifications. So the React notifications, currently we lost all our notifications because we had to gut all of our Flash stuff out of the controller. So you remember we went through all the controllers and we pulled all the Flash stuff out. Now, I have noticed from a few projects that I've seen that some people still have Flash stuff in there. One thing to note, if you have two RESs, so two responses, the first response will take precedence and the next response will not happen. Or it could cause an error of a header error, which some of you have gotten, where you're like, headers are already sent. The reason why you're getting that is because you're only allowed to commit one response. The second you commit a second response, the system freaks out and says, you've already sent headers. Why are you trying to send headers again? You only get to do this thing one time. So what we'll do is you just got to make sure that you pull the Flash pieces out. The responses you should be sending, if you're sending data back, it should be response.json. You can also do response.status and give it a status code and then .json. That's fine as well. Otherwise, it should be response.send or response.status 404 or 401.send. And then the send, you can also give it JSON or whatever you want. But if you're sending data, use the JSON because it comes back as JSON and then can be interpreted by the system as an actual JavaScript object. If you send it back as send, you'll have to parse it, which will make your life a lot more difficult. All right, cool, just so you were aware. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create something called a context. One of the issues that we have in React is that everything is unidirectional. No, Yeah, unidirectional, meaning that it's one. It goes only in one direction, right? So if I have index. I'm just gonna write this like this. I have index, okay, and then inside index I have app. These are my components, right? And then in app I have the browser router, right? And then in there I have routes. I have main nav. And then I have whatever particular thing is going to get rendered, right? So my component that gets rendered in here, which comes from the routes. If I want something to be available to this guy, right, and it gets defined here, I have to pass it to app, which has to then pass it to browser router, which then can now pass it to main nav, which is super janky and very difficult to maintain, and probably one of the biggest deterrents to React and why people leave React, because they don't like the fact that in order to get data from here, they have to pass it as a prop, literally down through each one of these components till they finally get to the component they want. Siblings are fine. These guys can all access that same prop. That's okay. But you do have to pass it through. So the easier way to get around that is using something called context. I can set a global context object, just like state. State is a global context object. I can set a global context object, and basically what that allows me to do is to plug it in here, and then it becomes accessible to all of the children. They all immediately get available access to it. Wherever I define it, it now becomes available to everybody else, right? As long as I include the global context object. Little confusing to work with, but we need to do that for notifications because we don't want to have to pass a notification block as a property to each and every single one of them, right? Otherwise, we're passing it through things that aren't using it, and there's no reason to do that. So the first piece we need to do is actually build the context object, okay? And we're going to do it as a separate component, and we're going to build it right in the components level. So collapse any folders that don't need to be open. Right-click on the components and choose New File. And we're going to call this the notification. Careful how you spell it. These are one of those infamous words that gets misspelled all the time. Context.js. So notification context.js. Is that a little too small? Do I need to increase the size a bit? There you go. So the first thing, just like any component, we need to import something from React. However, we're going to import, instead of React, we're just going to import the create context module from it. And then that will give us our context module. And no, I don't expect a notification system in your project. Okay? So don't rush out of class afterwards and be like, oh, now we have to have notifications. Okay? I don't expect that. I also don't expect it to be deployed. So if you don't get it deployed, that's fine as well, as long as I get a GitHub link. Next, we're going to do const notification context. So we're going to set our module equals create context. So that will create our global context object. Next, we need to provide a provider and a consumer. The provider provides the context object, which gives it accessibility. The consumer consumes it by utilizing it and doing whatever it's going to do with it. So a little confusing, but we have to have both those objects. So we're going to do an export const notification. Oops, already spelled it wrong. Notification provider. And it's going to be equal to the notification context dot provider object. And then if you want to duplicate that, you can literally just change provider out to consumer. And then last but not least, we're going to just export notification context. And that's it. That's our notification context object. Notification contexts can be used in a variety of different, contexts themselves can be used in a variety of different ways, and there's a bunch of different methods on how to do it. To be honest, the way we're going to implement it is probably the simplest way I've seen to implement this concept, which is a little confusing. Not the way to implement it, but the actual thing itself. Now, I don't care about notification provider being accessible at index, because that's irrelevant to me. But I do want it available at app, right? So what I'm going to do is if we open up our app.js file in the React side, the app.js, this one, see here where we have the div class name? We're going to replace that with notification provider, and the closing thing with notification provider. And then obviously we need to import it, and I am going to delete this and show you how to do that. So it's going to be import notification provider from .notification context. So we're just importing the notification provider. We don't need the other pieces. I missed a big section. That's super annoying. Next, we're going to need in the notification provider, we're going to have to give it an initial value to start with. Okay. I'm using this to signify that we have JavaScript going in here. This will do an implicit return, which is kind of handy. So put in a second set of braces, and we're going to define an object in here, which is going to be notification, and set notification equal to set notification. Okay, give me 1 second. I think this would be actually easier for my... I'm missing some of my code block. So I'm just going to log in and grab it. All right, the blog. All right, that's what I thought I did. So these two pieces here, we're actually going to pull from a state object. So we're going to define const notification and set notification, and it's going to be equal to the use state. And we're going to give it a status of null as a default, and message is equal to null as the defaults. Which means we're also going to need to ask React for the use state. So we'll have to just add one more module here to the use state. All right, and I will highlight everything we've added. There you go, those lines. So quite a few pieces. The use state piece we're going to define ahead of time, and then we're going to pass those use state pieces through to our notification provider, which will now become available to anybody who's a consumer. So the provider is basically providing the notification context to anything it's wrapping, which can be at any nested level. It doesn't matter, right? As long as whatever it's wrapping will become a consumer of any of that provider. And then it's very easy for us to actually implement the provider, which makes life nice and simple for us. Gives us a global state object. A global. I feel like you're almost too close to the screen.
I am, but I don't like glasses.
It's like you're like,
I forgot my glasses.
nerd. I'm allowed to say that because I'm a nerd. Does she? That's nice. Yeah.
Why are we importing the notification provider from notification context if we're exporting notification context?
Well, we're actually exporting everything in that module set.
Right.
Yeah. All right, next piece we need to do is we're going to add an actual notifier itself and let it handle all of our stuff. So we'll connect to it in here, but we haven't actually written to it yet. It'll be import notifier from /notifier, and this is going to be our view component. So this will be our actual little notification block. And then we're going to include that component. I've been putting it under main nav because I like it there. I don't know why, but I do. Like so. There you go, there's 2 lines. And once we're done that, we're ready to actually build the notification view. And the notification view is going to go under components. We're just going to create a new file, and it's going to be called notifier. So notifier.js. Is anybody still typing the code on the right just before I hit enter and create this file? No? Okay. And this one looks a little bit more like a standard component. We're going to import React, right, like we always do. We'll also import the useContext method from React. Wait, why am I importing? Oh, right, that's one. We're also going to need to import the notification context, so the whole context object from /notification context. We're going to create our function notifier, and then we're going to export default notifier. So this component is going to use our notifier context. We're basically going to set up the pieces that we need in here in order to add details that we provide from other components, like data that we provide from other components, into this app and render it. Yeah. Maybe? Oh, it's lowercase. Yeah, it definitely is. Oops. Yeah, React is definitely lowercase in the string form. Yeah, the library is React. And it does matter, 100%, because computers are super literal. All right, the next piece we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of destructuring. We're going to create the notification, and it's going to be equal to use context notification context. And what this is actually going to do which is a little confusing at first. It's going to take, I'll wait for you to finish, and then I'll explain it. I'll wait for you to finish typing, because it's easier for you to pay attention when you guys are typing. All right, anybody still typing? No? Okay, Alt-Shift-2. Nope. Convention. All right. Okay, let's try this again without causing problems. I just need to split 2 columns. There we go. Okay. Split this. Take this guy, put him over here. Okay. Reason why I'm doing this is I need to show you where this is coming from. This notification that you see here, right, this one inside these curly braces, so this piece right here, is going to get its data from the provider, this object right here. So if I want whatever, sorry, to be more specific, this object right here. So what this is going to do, if I want set notification, I can get it as well, because I can literally just do set notification. So I can get whatever value is inside here, right, that's defined in the value, I can get it from use context, okay, without the pound sign there. But I only need notification. I don't need set, because I'm just reading. I'm just reading a value. That's all I'm doing in this particular scenario. Okay? This piece is nicely connected up to our state object. So basically what we're doing is we're taking this and we're connecting it to our state. We're going to pass our state to the notification provider, which will then become available to the consumers. So here's how that architecture is going to look, which is super kind of confusing, but it's how it works. Okay, so you have your note provider, right? And it has a value, okay, that you define. You say what you want that value to be. That value we have set to our notification state. I will write note state so it doesn't look like not state. When this gets updated, it immediately updates what's ever in here. The note provider then funnels that down to all of the note consumers, however many there are. So every single consumer will be updated with the new value information. So what's cool, we've given the consumer access to this note state because that value piece goes through it. So in a consumer, we can set the message and set the status of the note state. That will carry up the chain to this guy here, which will carry off to our note context. Clear as freaking mud, eh? I made the same face you're all making right now when I finally figured this out. It was super painful to get it to work. And even Connor, who is like a fully veteran React person, hates context because it's so bloody confusing. But it basically works that note state is super important for us because it allows us to do the dynamic updates back and forth. So right now, we have our use context, right? It's going to use whatever value notification context has. That's, to put it simplistic, whatever value is currently in here automatically gets consumed here. So just ignore that for now. And we're going to render it in our notifier. So let's do the rest of that. So we're going to do if notification.status, which is coming from our state object, right? Return, super simple, just a div, class name equals, and we're going to build that, style equals, and we'll build that. And then here, we'll put the notification message, which is also coming from the state object. Okay? So if the status is null, we're not going to render anything. Because of that, React requires us to return, but it's possible this return will never happen. Okay? So because of that, we have to return null at the bottom. We have to return something. So just be wary of that if you wrap a return in an if condition, outside the if condition, you have to return something, even if it's just null. Okay? Put your cursor inside the class name. This is a little complex, some dirty backticks. And it's alert, dash, $, and some curly braces. And then in there, we're going to put the notification.status. And this is purely for just bootstrap purposes. And then in the style, it actually requires us to give it an object. And the object is going to be margin top, 60 pixels, so that we can take our alert box and move it down by 60 pixels. Otherwise, it'll get buried behind the navigation. And that's it for that component. No, it's so the first set of curly braces says this is JavaScript. The second curly set says this is an object. Yeah, which gets auto returned. So. If you try to write raw CSS styles, it won't let it. It just rejects them. You have to do it that way. Cool. Anybody still writing? No? Cool. I'm going to save, and it's going to distort it on us. Next bit. So we have our notification context, we have our notifier.js, and we have our app.js with all of our pieces inside of it. So now we need to start actually adding this notifier component to some consumers, right? So I think the best consumer to deal with first is the login. So if we go to our sessions login.js, we're going to turn this guy into a consumer, which is going to make our lives a little easier to tell when we've actually logged in. Because now we'll have a message that will say, you logged in successfully. Or you didn't log in because you are a criminal. All right. First thing we need to do to turn this into a consumer, we need to import hold on, I just want to make sure I do this correctly. Where are you actually setting this, Shawner? That could sit there. Oh, right. Okay, so we're going to do import notification context from ... / notification context. Okay. That's step one. Step two, under here where we actually set our two pieces, we're going to do const, and we're going to pull the set notification from use context notification context, which we just created up there. So now we've got access to the state's set notification. And when we set that, it's going to go up the chain and put it into our notification system. So those two pieces we need for sure. Oh, we also need use context, which you need to write under the React. And I will highlight this. So those 3 lines. So when do we actually care? Like when in our code logic do we care to send a notification? There's 2 spots in our code that we should send notifications. Yes? Somebody successfully logs in, and 1 more spot. No, that's logs in. Exactly. So log in, log out. Those are the only two places we care. So the next two places that we need to add code to is this then, right, and the catch. Because the catch is when somebody actually doesn't successfully log in, and the then is when somebody does successfully log in. Currently, we're using inline callbacks. We just need to modify this slightly. So in front of set redirect, right, add in a curly brace and hit enter so that set redirect goes to the next line. We'll take this super, super slow so nobody gets lost. Next, please put your cursor in between the two parentheses after true. So you'll see two parentheses there. Hit the closing curly brace and hit enter beside it so that the closing curly brace and the parenthesis moves to the next line. Now set redirect just looks like a regular function call, and you can terminate with a semicolon. Okay, so basically we took what was an inline callback with an implied return, and we've now separated it into a block, basically. And the reason why we've done that is because we need to add something else. So just above the, let's see here, just above the redirect, we're going to add set notification. So that's our method. And we're going to give our notification a callback. So we're going to do notification, like so, is equal to these wonderful curly braces. Hit enter. Let's put a semicolon at the end of it, and we're going to return a object. And we're going to use the spread operator to kind of do a soft merge. We're going to set the status to success, purely for Bootstrap, and the message to you have successfully logged in, like so. So this wonderful block right here. Yes, Ron? It's curly braces. Yeah, we're returning an object, literal. Yeah. Yeah, the curly braces are difficult to see. It's the mustache. So that deals with our login. That's going to create a notification for us, right? When you log in, that will actually get sent back up the chain to our provider, who will send it to the notifier, who will render it because of state and use context. Those two things are giving us this power. You're allowed to yawn. I'm not going to incarcerate you for yawning. You're like, oh my God, I yawned. All right, log out. Basically the same idea. Right now we have console log. That's going away. We don't need console logs. We're professionals here. Add in a set of curly braces instead. And the code is essentially the same. So if you want to just copy this whole set notification block, so set notification from the opener to the closer, and then drop it in, change it from success to danger. We live dangerously. Dangerously. And we'll say there was an error attempting to authenticate your credentials. So professional sounding. I mean, you could change it to, you done got messed up. Need to fix it. Oh, that's new. Why am I opening it? That's true. I copied from here to here. And then made this beautiful code here to here. No more I love you. How we doing? We Gucci? Nice. Everybody else Gucci? Anybody not Gucci? All right. Cool. I'm going to hit save. So if everything is working correctly, then we should see a notification when we log in. And we go to login. Let's try that again. ASDF, submit. You have successfully logged in. Up the chain it went. Pretty quick too, I might add. And interestingly enough, if you switch, it's going to stick around because we're not clearing it. We get it, and then we don't clear it. So we can clear it. We'll do that later. No, it is not clear. Nice attempt, though. I appreciate your gumption. Yeah, it's not clear. What's that? You're getting an error? And somebody was bound to get an error. All right, let's do a couple of more, and then we'll deal with people's errors. So right now we have login, right? So obviously we should do log out, right? That's you're on the right track. That's exactly it. We just copied the stupid block. So copy the block. Make sure you don't forget. Copy the whole block. Set notification, right? But that's not all we need, though, there, Mo. We also need this block, right? We don't want to forget that guy either. You're going to need this block too, right? Now we're getting to a point of absurdity. We're definitely not going to hit copy now. We'll never get them in the right spots. Yeah. So maybe it's better to just write a little list, right, of what do I need in order to add my notification block. I need use context. Yep, I need to import the notification library. I need to set notification use context, and then I need this block in order to actually render the notification. 4 pieces in order to make this work. So the easiest way to do that is just go to View, Editor Layout, 2 columns, right? Over on this side, we'll open up logout.js, so it's there. And we just start copying the pieces over. So first I need use context, right? Next, I need the import notification context from the / notification context. Under this, I'm going to need the const set notification equals use context notification context. Oops. And then in the use effect, right now the Axios post doesn't do anything. So we're going to need a .then, and we're going to need a .catch, which we should have anyways. It's actually bad for us not to have those things. And it is going to be deprecated at some point. So in the then, we're only going to do this return anyways. So what we can do is literally just write, so this is the response, right? So we can just write a set of empty braces, like so, and we can explicitly return what's ever in here. So we are going to return, actually I think we have to write it like this. We're going to return the ... Oh no, I did that wrong. My apologies, I totally did that wrong. Let's come back up here. We're going to do set notification and return that. There we go. And it's going to get the notification object. There. So you're going to wind up with a curly brace and 2 parentheses on the closer of that one. And we're going to give it .notification. I'm going to give it status. Oh, sorry, I goofed that up. That does need a return. This is getting absurd. There we go. Now we're off to the races. Status. Success. I'll highlight it so that you know what we've done here. You have successfully logged out like the champion you are. There we go. Nice message. Beautiful context. All right. Need that. Do you want me to close the other side? Because we don't really need it open now. Layout, single. There you go. What did I add? Yeah, there's a dot catch at the end that we're going to do the same kind of thing with. So we can literally take from my green parenthesis there up to these little green parentheses up there. Copy that and dump it into the catch. Change it to danger. All right, you can never leave. Oops. Or you can write, you can stay any time, but you can never leave. Does anybody know what that's from? Hotel California. Do you know what that song's about?
Someone told me once I forgot.
It's about going to hell.
Yes. Yes. I thought that song was about certain type of business. Certain type of what? Certain
Those people exist there. That's basically what they're saying, but no, it's about going to hell. Yeah.
Talking about prostitution. No.
In his very subtle way. Certain type of business that happens in a seedy hotel.
I thought it was about the hotel burning down.
No, it's literally about hell. Yeah, that's funny. It's like I think Super 8s would do more business if they just had hourly rentals. They'd do so much more business. All right.
Chile Super 8 is the most popular chocolate bar.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. Here, it's the most popular hotel amongst politicians.
Oh.
See what I did there, right? All right, we good? Good. Ron? Yeah, no, and yes. Definitely for based on the way we've been doing it, we should do it. It's not going to actually break because it's implied, but that's a dangerous road to go down because sometimes it's not implied and it breaks everything thereafter. So we had a developer, Mike Winger, you know Mike, and Mike doesn't put semicolons there. Mike puts, so instead of writing it like this, Mike would write it like this, which is super annoying. It's literally the most pretentious thing I've ever seen a developer do in my life. But because the way JavaScript reads, that is valid code. Super obnoxious. Yeah. Connor got to deal with some of his code. He's not very happy. But it was pretty funny. All right, I'm going to save this. Logout should now work, but of course, we all know that you lose your token and everything else, so you got to log in. ASDF, submit. There was an error attempting to authenticate your credentials. What has happened? Let me go check my network tab and see. Try that again. Submit. I get null. That's not very handy. Do I have an error somewhere? Oh, I typed ASDF all in capitals for some bizarre reason. Because I have the caps lock on. That would be why. I have just had a senior moment. Hit submit. Yeah, I'm logged in. Now I'm going to navigate to log out. Log out. You have successfully logged out, like the champion you are. Nice. Positive messaging, too. Users like positive messages. Way to go, champ.
That's my message.
It should be like, good job, sport. You logged in. Way to go, champ. Hot dog. Good eye. All those type of statements. All right. So that's our login, logout notifications. The process of adding notification to any of the other views is exactly the same. Find the point where you think the notification should be set and go through those same 4 steps. Use context. Import. Let's try that again. Import notification context. Set notification context. And then give it this block. And it's literally those 4 pieces. Any place you want to add a notification piece. So now we come to the fun point where we're going to actually deploy our code to the intranets. So, out of curiosity, was anybody in this class not able to deploy their blog as a node project before we ever got into React? Just out of curiosity. No, you were all able to deploy it? Okay. If that's the case, then we should be okay. We should be able to deploy this to React without issue, but there's some steps. Step 1.
Can we actually take a break so we fix some issues?
We're literally like 30 seconds, and then I can fix your issues. Wait,
Okay.
what you doing, dude?
Okay. Sorry.
Why
All right.
do you get this error? It says user effect doesn't missing dependency. Set notification has nothing to do with user effect.
Are you looking at this one? React hook use effect has a missing dependency. So it wants set notification as one of the dependencies inside that little array block.
Oh,
That's why. You can add it. It's just a warning. It's not necessary though. All right, we're gonna Control C. So kill your client. Don't kill your client, but kill the client. Yeah. Don't ever kill your client. You won't get paid that way. All right. The magic words to take this whole application you build, strip out node modules that aren't getting used, strip out code that's not necessary, condense everything up, gzip it, uglify it, and then spit it out as one JavaScript file with some dependencies is built. However, if you don't have Yarn, you have to use npm build. If you have Yarn, you can do yarn build. So I have Yarn, so I'm going to do yarn build. Hit enter, and it's going to do some stuff. And your node app is going to break and blow up and get mad, which is totally okay, because I don't care about the node side right now. We can actually kill the node app for right now anyways, so just Control C the node side. So we can test this in development that this has worked. And the way we'll test it in development that it's worked is we'll boot up the node application, enter through localhost 4000 instead of localhost 3000, right? And we should get to the React application. But right now it won't work for you because we're missing a chunk in app.js that we need. And the problem that I have right now is I added the chunk. This is app.js and the node side, so the big long file. And we're going to the bottom of it. And unfortunately, I already changed my code, but your code at the bottom needs to look like that. So the first line basically sets a root. The second line tells Express to use it as a static root. Next, we're taking in the request and the response. We're checking to see how they did the method, whether they did get. We're also checking to see if they accept HTML or if they don't accept JSON, and that the path includes a dot. And then we send the file index.html from our root path. Otherwise, we go next. Yeah. npm break. Build does not work. That's weird. Should definitely work. What does it say when you do it? Well, you installed Yarn, didn't you? Thought you did install it. Okay. Let me take a quick look at what happens when you do build. Let's see here. Scripts. Yeah, it's just npm build. I mean, oh, right, it's npm run build. My apologies. Yep, Daniel is correct. It's npm run build. I need my app.js file back. Okay, sorry. We'll highlight that again. All right, so go ahead and type that out. Replace what's there currently. So you're going to replace that get that's there currently. So the app.get needs to be replaced with that block. Okay? App.get. Yeah, so you're going to have to definitely wipe that one. No, this is fine. Yeah, so the server runs just as raw JavaScript. It actually gets compiled on its own in the back into C, actually, and machine language after that point, which is pretty cool. Hard to believe. One more week, and then done. That's it. I'm going to play Endgame next week for the movie. It does kind of seem oddly appropriate, yeah. Only I'm not Thanos, so don't please... Oh, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to cause a spoiler, so...
At this time, you put it the regular endgame or like the one that gets the seasons?
I don't know what one I have. I think I have just regular Endgame. I have it on iTunes, so I probably have extra features. It's probably on there.
Did you steal it?
No, I purchased it. About it. I did a lot. I'm not saying that on video. I just realized what I was about to say. I'm not saying that on video. Incarcerate myself. Criminate, sorry, not incarcerate.
Crimination leads to incarceration.
Crimination leads to incarceration. Exactly. Guess that's better than insemination. That would be worse. It's a lot to type. I mean, you could go to the lesson plan and just copy it and paste it in. It is in the lesson plan. Is that what you guys did?
Yes.
No?
I think
Are you unemployed? So you're advertising that you're unemployed? People are going to start giving you money. Just gonna, here you go. There's this show called IT Grad. Has anybody seen IT Grad? Yeah? Did you see the episode where Roy gets... Okay, awesome. So the one character, he gets ousted from the building for some reason. And within an hour, he's living on the streets, collecting money with a cardboard sign saying, we'll work for food. Within 1 hour. Of being unemployed. It's so funny. Okay. Const root is a constant named root. So what we're doing basically is defining the client's root path. So client build is the root path. The build is where all of your build files are going to go from your index. So when we call npm run build or yarn build, all those files get put together. You wind up with one gzipped JavaScript file that contains all your JavaScript. All the assets get put into little folders, and that will all be found under client build.
Okay.
We then take the next step and we say to Express, serve this as a static folder, right? Like this is a static file. You can serve it directly using normal HTML client stuff. There's no Node stuff in here. Just serve it normally. Same reason why we did it with, remember when we were doing our views, we served all our JavaScript and our CSS as static?
Right.
Same idea.
Okay.
Next, app use, request, response, and next, right? We've seen that. It basically says, use this middleware that we've defined in here. So first thing we're doing is checking to see how the request method was made. If it's done with post, we're done. We're not even going to do this. We'll just do whatever else, right? Because post is going to be handled by the server anyways. So we're never going to deal with posts on the client, which makes sense because you don't post from client to client. You always post to a server endpoint. So we never need to worry about posts. We only ever accept HTML, and we're ignoring JSON because we don't care about JSON on the client. The next piece is if the request path, so if the request path doesn't include a dot, which means it's not like a root file, then we'll respond by handling back the index.html. This index.html is at client build / index.html.
Okay.
This is just telling it where it can find it.
Okay.
Okay? Otherwise, we go to next, which means next will cause it to come down through the rest of the process. This basically will allow us to handle all routes that the user types into the browser through React, unless they do /API. If they do /API, it's going to get picked up here because it happens in order.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the idea.
Okay.
In development, we don't want to do that. We use our unbuilt React app and we play around and we look through localhost 3000. But once we deploy, we need to do it through localhost 4000 because we want to go through the Node app. Right now we're entering through React. Now that we've done this build, we're going to enter through Node. Okay? Going through the back door. Anyways.
Where is the code? I type it into horrible and I try to find the code.
Did you go to the COMP-2068 Assistant Heroku app and go to JavaScript frameworks? So go to any one of the lesson plans we've done before and click on Home. Okay?
Okay.
Once you go to Home, you'll see JavaScript frameworks. Click on that. Scroll to the very, very bottom.
Oh,
React notifications and deploy. Scroll down to where it says deploy. And it's this block of code. You're welcome. Okay, so once we've done that, if everything is good and working, we only need to go nodemon. Love it when it explodes. I need to add a sound effect. As soon as it picks up stdr, it just creates a sound effect where it
What happens
goes.
if your node actually works?
If your node works, then you're better than me.
Then there's something wrong with it.
What?
Sounds like it should break.
Oh, right. This is my bcrypt issue again. Oh, so super annoying. Hold on. How did I deal with it the last time? No, I had to npm install bcrypt. Cool. There we go. Okay. So it's going to tell you you're listening on 4000. And you should. So now currently our blog was on localhost 3000. We're going to change that to port 4000. Right? That's what that means. That colon number is the port number that we're entering on. Hit enter. And if everything's working, you should see the adventure of a lifetime. It was a rainy day in Pizzaville. We'll deal with that in a minute. Okay? No? How many people actually have something? Uh-oh. All right, did you guys do yarn builds? How many people did a yarn build?
It works.
Yours works. Okay, did you do an NPM run build?
Yes.
Okay. Does your code look like this block of code in your app? Better question. Was your React application working before we started this?
Mine was not.
Yours was working. Okay. So
Mine was not logging in, but it was working. It was open.
you were getting to at least the adventures of a lifetime. All right. Did you add this code block in?
Yes.
Did you
I
type
had-
it?
What?
Did you type it or did you copy it?
Type
Okay, let's copy and paste.
It's better to copy. Sometimes it's like,
Yeah. Ron, did yours work or no?
and then was hard.
Did you change it? I'm sorry.
I did what?
How did you change it to 4,000?
Yes, that's the other thing too. Don't forget that step. You need to go to localhost 4000 where we're listening to our node mod
Oh,
on node. Don't go to 3000 because it won't work. It's kind of epic looking, eh? When it's on the screen like that. The adventure of a lifetime.
dum dum dum.
Dun dun dun.
Okay, so this is a node application. Here.
Yes and no. It's Node because you have to have something to serve it. So all web applications require some sort of server, whether it's being done with Python, PHP, Ruby, ASP.NET, some kind of server. You need some server on the back end.
Okay, is this page from the node application or from the client?
It's from the client. So what's happening right now with this code here, Lulu,
Yeah.
this is routing all of our requests to the React app. It's routing it to the React's index.html page. And then React's JavaScript is coming into play and replacing content and stuff on our page and doing all that wonderful stuff. So React, when I say it's client side, I mean literally client side. Like it's in the browser. You can go look at the JavaScript that's in the browser. That's why you don't want to put any secure information in your React application. None. Okay? Not a one. Don't stick passwords in there. Don't stick logins because it's entirely client-facing, which means they can see your code base. Okay? You can scramble it, gzip it, uglify it all you want. Does not make it secure. Oh, also look up SSRF. Crazy vulnerability that I didn't know about cloud services. Really creepy stuff. We're dealing with it right now. Super. It's basically what happened with Canada One, or not Canada One, Capital One.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, it was an SSRF attack. All right. So if that's working, you should be able to log in. Yep, and log out.
My notification bar appears after the.
Cool. Okay, hold on 1 second. We're almost done. Once that's finished, you can push your code to Heroku, and it will deploy and work. Okay? Once it's finished. If it's not working currently on your machine, we need to get to that step. But at this point, I'm just going to stop recording because we already know how to do Git pushes and stuff, so we don't need to show that part. So I'm going to stop recording, and then I will come help, and then we'll do project support. Cool?
yes.
Cool, cool, cool.
Awesome.
Okay.